My name is Teri Stocking, and I was born in Miami, Florida, the fourth of 7 children. Had a wonderful growing up experience. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. And like I said, I'm the fourth of 7, and my brother was number 5. And then when I was a freshman in college, I started dating a young man that was a baseball player at Miami-Dade. I was going to the nursing program at Miami-Dade, and that was in the fall of 1975, and I was maintaining my virginity. I wasn't going to go there, and found out that he was having sex with other young ladies because that was just a need he had. So I made the decision, well, I better have sex with him if I want to keep him as my boyfriend. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I fell for in terms of my decision making. At the time, there were no pregnancy tests, so I went into the Yellow Pages and found a pregnancy care center in Hollywood, Florida called Women's Awareness, and it was on Sterling Road, just west of 95, and called them to find out, how do I find out if I'm pregnant? And they said, bring a urine specimen first thing in the morning. When I called back, it was on a Saturday in January, and the woman told me, it's positive, and I said, positive meaning positive that you're pregnant. And I was like, okay, hung up the phone, ran outside and was just like overcome with tears, went into the backyard, didn't want anyone in my family to see me. Pulled myself together, called Women's Awareness Center back to find out what are my options at this point. Never once did I think I should have this baby. I had had friends who had gotten pregnant and gotten married, and I remember the pain in the faces of their parents going through that, and that was my only thought, that I didn't want to cause that pain to my parents. And I think of how foolish and short-sighted that was. At the time when I found out I was pregnant and I talked to my boyfriend that I was pregnant, his first reaction was not, let's get married. His first reaction was like, we can't have a baby. And his cousin, who was a couple years older than Mike, said, you know, you guys can't get married and have a baby. You know, you've got to get rid of this pregnancy. And I went along with it. I didn't have the courage to stand up and say, I'm not going to do that. And to this day, that is the biggest regret in my life, that I didn't speak up for this child. The cost was $300, and Mike paid for it. His cousin and Mike drove me to the center. I went in. He waited outside in the lobby area. I just remember being in there, seeing all the other young women in the same situation, especially after the procedure was over, sitting in these recliner chairs and just looking around at just empty vacuums of faces. It was just this, I felt the life had gone out of me. I would have to say that I was totally naive and selfish to be thinking only about how embarrassed I would be. Embarrassed that I found myself in this situation. I wouldn't want to have embarrassed my parents. Honestly, all of that is just false. It's such a misconception on my part. The abortion happened in January of 1976. By March of 1976, I couldn't focus on my schoolwork. I felt inside such a pain that I wasn't verbalizing, but I know it was because of the abortion. I dropped out of school, just couldn't face what I had done, was so regretful of it, but couldn't verbalize it, just stuffed it inside and just kept that pain inside and tried to live a, quote, normal life. And it was a shell of me that was living my life. It wasn't with gusto. It wasn't the person I was 6 months before. It was a shell of a person where I used to be. It was a long time before I ever talked about the abortion that I had in January of 1976. It was something that I was so ashamed of, so disappointed in myself, that I didn't have the courage of my convictions, that I knew what was right and what was wrong, and I didn't act according to what I knew what was right. So I just stuffed it away and didn't talk about it for years. I think that in all honesty, an abortion center, that's their bread and butter. They don't want to give you another option. They don't want you to think this through. They don't want you to take time and contemplate what your choices are. They just want you to go and get this done. And that's pretty much what happened. As far as people who work in the abortion industry, I feel sorry for them. I pray for them that their eyes will be open to the truth. It would be it is, I think, such a sad way to make a living by deceit. Well, I guess the best way to say it is deceiving, but not really helping women see the truth, that the child that they're carrying is a separate child. It's not an appendage of their body. It is another human being. If I was in that situation again, I would certainly look for an outlet to have had that baby and given that baby up for adoption. Even now, when I think back to that moment, that I didn't even consider that I just took that knee-jerk reaction and ended that child's life, that I would go back in a heartbeat and give that child a chance to live their life. I do think about the child, Emily, that I aborted in 1976. She would have been born August of 1976, so she would be 40, coming up on 40, and what a difference she would have made in this world. She would have, I think, been a wonderful addition to the world. Who knows? Maybe she would have had the cure for cancer. Maybe she would have invented something really spectacular. I regret that I didn't give her the opportunity to share her gifts and talents that she was endowed with and was meant to give to this world. One bad choice compounded by another bad choice, and then I was in this darkness. And that darkness stayed with me for a very long time, and it prevented me from being the person that God wanted me to be for many years. There were months at a time, especially when I was in my 20s, after the abortion experience, that I was in a very dark place. I remember walking down the sidewalk home from work one day and contemplating taking my own life. What if I walk to the top of that building? I think there's a balcony up there. I think I could walk up there. I think I could jump off. And that's not me. That's not who I am. So I know that it was I opened the door because of that abortion experience, that darkness came into my life. And those spirits tormented me at different times. I would fight hard, try hard to stay out of that situation, but it would come, and there would be months at a time where I was just burdened by that darkness and contemplated taking my own life several times. I didn't get to the point that I actually took it, but that darkness was there, that conversation in my head, go on. Why do you think you should be able to be here? You shouldn't be here. Look at the things you've done. Look at the bad things you've done. just go ahead, walk up to the top of that building, go ahead, jump off. And it was really an overpowering feeling on many occasions that just almost took me to the brink of doing something like that. And I know it's because I opened that door. I let that darkness into my life by that decision I made. And Satan certainly was having his heyday with that. I had met my husband in 1981, serious relationship, and we got married in April of 1983. In November of 1999, I got pregnant, and I was surprised that I got pregnant. Didn't say anything to my husband right away. I took a home pregnancy test at Christmas time. It was positive. I made an appointment to go see an OBGYN. On Monday when they did the blood work, the alpha fetal proteins were lower than they were on the Friday before, so that meant that the baby didn't make it. And what was so ironic about this, and I know that this is a God thing, the conception of this child and the ultimate miscarriage occurred at the same time of the conception and the abortion of my baby back in 1975 and 76. Almost identical. Thanksgiving weekend getting pregnant. The abortion happened in January of 1976 and the miscarriage happened in January of 2000. So when I went home after that visit with the OBGYN and I wasn't pregnant, and I told my husband, and I was crying and I was upset, he was very surprised but very supportive and said, I didn't even know that you wanted another child. I said, I wasn't, I didn't know either, and he said, well, do you want to try again? I said, I need to grieve this baby that we just lost. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was this voice saying, what about me, Mom? And I knew at that moment the child that I had aborted and the timing of this child that was miscarried, it was God just trying to reach out to me to help me heal my heart. And it was a very powerful moment, and it was one that just made me realize that there was a pain inside of me that needed to be healed, that I couldn't ignore it anymore, I couldn't stuff it away, and that I needed to get help in order to go through this process. The following Monday, I called the diocese. They gave me the number to reach Donna Gardner, who did the intakes for this ministry, which I came to find out later was called Rachel's Vineyard. It was a profound experience that allowed me to grieve the loss of the child I miscarried and the child that I chose to end its life through abortion. So those two souls, I was reunited with them through that weekend experience with Rachel's Vineyard, and to get all of that stuff that I had stuffed inside of me for so long out and acknowledge what it was that had happened. And it was an absolutely life-changing event in my life, and one that I know was a divine appointment. Because of the decision I made to have that abortion, that has allowed me through the healing process to now be able to help other women who maybe have made that same bad choice. So I help at the Rachel's Vineyard retreat weekends to reach out to those women who are hurting too, and let them know that there is healing on the other side, that going through the acknowledgement of the pain and suffering that this abortion experience caused, you can receive healing on the other side through God's love and mercy. God has taken the brokenness and pain in my life and has brought me full circle so that that pain can be used for good. I am absolutely living proof that God can heal. When you've made a mistake like I did in having an abortion, He can heal that brokenness and give you a light in your life that shines beyond measure.